Deep within the ruins of the Royal Library of Ashurbanipal in Nineveh, modern archaeologists unzipped a dark secret buried for over 4,000 years. Written on cracked, black clay in the sharp, triangular strokes of ancient cuneiform was a text that terrified early scholars. It didn't talk about farming, laws, or the mundane wars of mortal kings. Instead, it described a forbidden, cosmic journey that directly challenges our modern understanding of life, death, and the entities who once ruled this planet. The tablet is known to modern history as the Descent of Inanna into the Underworld. But what the public was rarely told, and what traditional textbooks deliberately glaze over, is why she actually went, the terrifying extraterrestrial technology she carried with her, and what she witnessed hidden beneath the crust of our planet. Inanna was not a mere myth. She was the most powerful, calculated entity in the entire Sumerian pantheon, the Anunnaki Queen of Heaven, love, war, and political dominance. She was a being who commanded the skies, wielded weapons of mass destruction, and ruled over millions of human subjects. Yet, at the absolute peak of her power, she willingly abandoned her temples, her sky ships, her thousands of worshippers, and her absolute authority to descend into the Kur, the Sumerian Underworld. A dark, subterranean realm from which no traveler, god or mortal, was ever supposed to return. Why would the most powerful goddess in history walk directly into a trap? According to alternative readings of these forbidden tablets, Inanna did not go to mourn. She went to stage a hostile takeover. She went to confront a dark mirror of her own cosmic power, her terrifying older sister, Ereshkigal, and the ancient, mechanical processing systems guarding the afterlife of human souls. What she witnessed inside those subterranean gates changes everything we know about human origins, ancient technology, and the overarching Anunnaki agenda on Earth. As we unlock the 7 gates of this ancient mystery together, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and turn on notifications. We are uncovering the deepest, most heavily guarded secrets of the ancestral shadows, and you absolutely do not want to miss the disturbing truths that come next. The ancient tablet opens with a chilling, repetitive linguistic rhythm that emphasizes the gravity of her choice. From the great sky, she set her mind to the great below. The goddess left heaven, left earth, and descended to the underworld. Inanna left heaven, left earth, and descended to the underworld. To understand why she did this, we must look at what she took with her. Inanna did not travel light. She emptied her temples across Mesopotamia, in Uruk, Bad Tibra, Zabalam, and Adab, effectively shutting down her divine grid. But most importantly, she packed the me. In Sumerian lore, the me were sacred, highly classified blueprints of civilization. They were physical objects, often described in alternative historical circles as advanced crystalline data disks, quantum computer chips, or localized power sources containing the literal operational codes for human society. They controlled everything from warfare and kingship to priesthood, art, and mental programming. Inanna had famously stolen these me from the high god Enki after getting him drunk in his subterranean palace of Eridu. She used them to make her city of Uruk the superpower of the ancient world. But Inanna's ambition was limitless. She looked down at the earth and realized her dominion was incomplete. She ruled the sky, the land, and the minds of the living. But she had zero control over the dead. Her older sister, Ereshkigal, ruled the Kur, a dark, sprawling, industrial empire beneath the earth where the life forces of dying humans were processed, recycled, and kept in a state of perpetual gray twilight. In the eyes of Inanna, this was an untapped resource. If she could conquer the underworld, she would possess total control over the entire loop of human reincarnation and soul energy. Knowing that she was walking into the jaws of an equal power, Inanna put a brilliant contingency plan into action. She called her chief advisor and military commander, Ninshubur. The tablets record her exact words: "My faithful servant of the clean life, my runner who carries true words. I am descending to the Kur. If I do not return within 3 days, you must raise a desperate lamentation for me in the ruins of the temples. Beat the drum for me in the assembly halls. Gash your eyes, gash your nose, gash your thighs in mourning. Cry out to the old gods. Go first to Father Nanna, the moon god. If he turns away, travel to Nippur and beg Enlil, the supreme commander. And if Enlil fails you, go to Eridu and find Father Enki. For Enki alone knows the secrets of biology, the architecture of life and death, and the hidden backdoors of the universe. He will not let me die. With her backup secured, Inanna equipped herself with her 7 most advanced divine technologies. She fastened her royal robes of ladyship around her shoulders. She placed her crown, the shigura, which symbolized her cosmic authority, upon her head. She hung a heavy necklace of pure, midnight blue lapis lazuli beads around her neck. She attached her pectoral breastplate, the source of her immense sexual and magnetic energy, to her chest. She slipped her golden ring of binding agreements onto her finger, grabbed her lapis measuring rod, the tool used to dictate physical boundaries and architectural designs, and marched directly into the dark desert toward the entrance of the Netherworld Palace. Inanna arrived at the massive, reinforced gates of Ganzer, the entrance to the Underworld Palace. She did not knock politely. She pounded violently on the bronze structures, demanding entry. The tablet states, she kicked the gate. She shouted aggressively, "Open the house, gatekeeper. Open the house. Open the gate of Neti, so that I may enter." Neti, the chief gatekeeper of the underworld, was stunned by her arrogance. He demanded to know who she was. She replied, "I am Inanna, Queen of Heaven, on my way to the east." Neti, suspicious, asked, "If you are indeed the Queen of Heaven, why have you traveled to the land of no return? Why has your heart led you on this dark path?" Inanna lied, claiming she had come to attend the funeral rituals of Gugalanna, the bull of heaven, who had recently been slain by Gilgamesh and Enkidu. Neti told her to wait. He ran through the deep corridors to the inner sanctum of Ereshkigal. When he delivered the news that Inanna was at the gates, equipped with her full arsenal of and royal regalia, Ereshkigal's face turned white with rage. She knew exactly what her sister was trying to do. This was an invasion. Ereshkigal slapped her thighs and bit her lip in fury. She gave Neti a cold, calculated order, bolt the 7 doors of the underworld against her. But let her enter through a tiny, single crack, 1 gate at a time. But enforce the ancient protocols of the Kur. At every single gate, she must be stripped. She must be disarmed. She must be humbled. Neti returned to the outer gate. He opened the first lock and led Inanna inside. But as she stepped across the threshold, Neti reached out and roughly snatched the shigura crown from her head. Inanna stopped, completely outraged. She demanded an explanation. "What is this? Why are you touching my royal crown?" Neti looked her dead in the eyes and delivered a chilling phrase that repeats like a mechanical mantra throughout the tablet, "Quiet, Inanna. The customs of the underworld are perfect. The laws of the great below are absolute. Do not question the protocols." She was forced forward to the second gate. Here, Neti seized her lapis lazuli measuring rod, the tool she used to command space and geography. Again, she protested, and again she was met with the cold response, "Quiet, Inanna. Do not question the laws." At the third gate, her lapis lazuli bead necklace was violently torn from her throat. At the fourth gate, her double breastplate, which protected her heart and projected her immense magnetic aura, was unlatched and removed. At the fifth gate, her gold ring of binding agreements was pulled from her finger, stripping her of her legal power to command alliances. At the sixth gate, her royal robes of ladyship were stripped from her skin. And finally, at the seventh gate, her small breechcloth, her final piece of clothing, was pulled away. Step by step, the automated security algorithm of the underworld stripped away her physical defenses, her legal authority, and her technological advantage. The Me discs were confiscated. She was no longer a cosmic conqueror flying high in her sky chariot. She was a vulnerable biological entity. She stood before her sister's throne completely naked, shivering, defenseless, and utterly stripped of her divinity. If you are finding this breakdown of ancient cuneiform fascinating, drop a comment below with the word unearthed. It helps our community grow and tells me you want more raw, unedited translations of these lost texts. Now naked and powerless, Inanna was pushed into the subterranean throne room. Ereshkigal sat upon her massive throne of black iron, her eyes burning with pure hatred. In a desperate, final act of arrogance, Inanna tried to physically push her sister off the throne and seat herself upon it. She tried to claim the sovereignty of the underworld by force. But the underworld was a beautifully designed trap. Ereshkigal did not even need to lift a finger. She simply signaled her elite council, the Anunna, the 7 dreaded judges of the subterranean world. These were not human judges, they were high-ranking Anunnaki officials tasked with enforcing the universal balance of life and death. The cuneiform text describes this moment with terrifying brevity, using phrases that send chills down the spines of alternative historians. It states, "The 7 judges, the Anunna, passed judgment on her. They looked at her with the look of death. They spoke to her with the speech of anger. They shouted at her with the shout of guilt." The look of death described in the tablets was not symbolic. It is described as a literal, energetic weapon. With a single collective, focused glare, the Anunna emitted a frequency that completely paralyzed Inanna's nervous system. Her cosmic life force evaporated in an instant. Her breathing ceased. Her heart stopped pumping. The Queen of Heaven dropped dead on the cold stone floor, her divine spark extinguished. But Ereshkigal was not satisfied with just killing her power-hungry sister, she wanted to completely erase her dignity. She ordered Inanna's dead body to be treated like an animal carcass at a common slaughterhouse. The guards drove a heavy, rusted iron spike directly into the damp stone wall of the subterranean chamber. They lifted Inanna's pale, decaying corpse and hung it from a meat hook. For 3 days and 3 nights, the great goddess of the ancient world was nothing but rotting meat in the dark, dripping blood onto the floor of the abyss. This is where alternative researchers uncover a mind-blowing historical parallel. Why did the Sumerians write a detailed narrative about a divine being dying, staying dead for exactly 3 days, and being hung on a stake or hook, thousands of years before the biblical story of Jesus Christ? Was this subterranean chamber a literal meat processing facility for human soul energy, or was it an advanced biological laboratory where the Anunnaki kept dead bodies suspended in a state of molecular stasis? While Inanna's physical body rotted on the hook, up on the surface world, a horrific ecological collapse took place. The tablets record that without the presence of the goddess of love, sex, and biological fertility, the natural world completely broke down. The cosmic signal was lost. Animals refused to mate. Bulls would not look at cows, donkeys would not approach jennies. In the human cities, men stopped sleeping with women. The fields dried up, crops withered into ash, and women could no longer give birth. Reincarnation had stopped. The earth was rapidly transforming into a dead, silent rock. Back on the surface world, on the 3rd day of absolute silence, Nineveh realized her mistress was truly lost. True to her oath, she began her frantic journey to save her goddess. She went first to the moon god Nanna, weeping and tearing at her clothes, but Nanna coldly refused to intervene. He said, "My daughter went to the great below because of her own endless greed. The laws of the underworld cannot be rewritten for her." Nineveh then fled to Nippur, begging the supreme commander Enlil, but Enlil gave her the exact same cold shoulder. Desperate, with the world dying around her, Nineveh made a final trek to Eridu, the ancient water city of Enki, the master geneticist of the Anunnaki. When Enki heard the news, he didn't mock Inanna. He understood the cosmic catastrophe at stake. If Inanna remained dead, the entire human biological experiment would go extinct. But Enki faced a massive technical problem. The security firewalls of the 7 gates of Ganzer were absolute. No living biological entity, male or female, god or human, could bypass them without being detected, stripped, and killed by the Anunna. So, Enki did what any master engineer would do, he hacked the system. The cuneiform text contains a bizarre description of how Enki solved this problem. It states that Enki scraped the dirt from beneath his fingernails and used it to manufacture two entirely new creatures, the Kurgara and the Galatura. When we read between the lines of this ancient translation, dirt under the fingernail sounds remarkably like an ancient scribe trying to describe cloning or the manipulation of synthetic genetic material. Enki created two artificial, non-biological entities, what we would call androids, drones, or synthetic gray aliens today. Crucially, they were designed to be entirely genderless. Because they were neither male nor female, they were completely invisible to the binary, gender-coded security algorithms of the seven gates. They were ghosts in the machine. Enki handed these two synthetic drones two highly potent, advanced substances, the food of life and the water of life. He gave them precise operational orders: slip into the underworld unnoticed. You will find Ereshkigal inside her chamber, weeping and writhing in agony like a woman giving birth, because her system is out of balance. When she moans, you must moan with her. When she sighs, you must sigh with her. She will appreciate your empathy and offer you a reward. Refuse all her gifts of silver and gold. Instead, look at the wall, point to the rotting meat on the hook, and say, "Give us that carcass." Let them give it to you. Then, apply the food and water as I instructed. The Kurgara and Galatura executed the plan perfectly. They slipped past Neti's gates like shadows. They found Ereshkigal in deep physical distress, complaining of internal pain. They echoed her cries, building an artificial rapport with her. Flattered and relieved, Ereshkigal told them, "I will give you the water of the river, I will give you the grain of the fields." They refused. They pointed directly at the wall and demanded the carcass of Inanna. Ereshkigal resisted, but she was legally bound by her own word. She handed over the decaying body. The drones immediately went to work. The Kurgara sprinkled the crystalline food of life over her dead flesh, and the Galatura poured the ionized water of life directly down her throat. Instantly, a massive chemical reanimation occurred. The cuneiform tablets record that Inanna gasped violently. Her decayed flesh instantly mended itself. Her cells regenerated at a localized atomic level. Her eyes snapped open, her heart began to beat furiously, and she rose from the dead, completely restored to her physical prime. But you cannot simply cheat the underworld without paying the ultimate price. The cosmic laws of the Anunnaki are unyielding. Ereshkigal roared in fury as Inanna prepared to leave. She commanded her guards, "Inanna may ascend back to the surface world, but the underworld cannot be left empty. A soul vacuum cannot exist. If she goes, she must provide a permanent, living substitute to take her place on the hook." As Inanna marched back up through the seven gates, reclaiming her royal robes, her jewelry, her measuring rod, and her crown, she was not alone. She was surrounded by a terrifying, screeching military escort, the Gala. The tablets described the Gala as underworld demons or entities who knew no food, drank no water, ate no offerings, and walked beside her like mechanical enforcers. They were there to collect her debt. They first reached the surface world and found Ninshubur dressed in filthy rags, weeping at Inanna's feet, overjoyed that her rescue plan had worked. The Gala demons lunged at Ninshubur, trying to drag her into the dark. But Inanna stopped them. She said, "No. She is my faithful servant. She kept the lamentation alive. She saved my life. I will not give her to you." They moved on to other loyal deities, but at every stop, Inanna shielded those who had mourned for her. Finally, the entourage arrived at the great royal city of Uruk. Inanna marched straight into her palace throne room, and what she found broke her heart and turned her sadness into cold, radioactive fury. There, sitting comfortably on her luxurious golden throne, was her own husband, Dumuzid, the shepherd king. While the entire planet had been weeping, while crops were dying, and while his own wife was rotting on a meat hook in the abyss, Dumuzid hadn't shed a single tear. He hadn't put on rags. Instead, he was wearing magnificent, glittering garments, drinking expensive wine, and celebrating his newfound, unchecked absolute power over Uruk. He had completely moved on. He was happy she was gone. Inanna stopped. Her eyes narrowed into slits. The cuneiform text records the terrifying moment of her judgment. Inanna looked at him with the look of death. She spoke to him with the speech of anger. She shouted at her enforcers, "Take him away. This is your substitute. Take Demuzid into the dark." The Gala demons did not hesitate. They lunged from the shadows like wild beasts, slashing at Demuzid's royal garments. They bound his hands, struck him across the face, and despite his horrific screams and desperate prayers to the sun god Utu, they dragged him kicking and screaming down the steep stone ziggurat steps, pulling him directly into the bottomless abyss to hang on the meat hook as Inanna's permanent replacement. The ancient translation of the Inanna tablet isn't just a simple bedtime story or an outdated religious myth. It is a stark, historical warning system left behind by our ancient ancestors. It tells us that the rules of the Anunnaki are cold, mathematical, and completely indifferent to human emotion. Inanna successfully conquered death, but the trauma of what she saw inside those 7 gates changed her forever. She returned to the sky, but she left her mercy behind in the dirt. What do you think? Was this a spiritual allegory, or a genuine, literal historical record of highly advanced extraterrestrial entities utilizing genetic engineering, stasis fields, and energy extraction to control life, death, and human souls on Earth? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a massive discussion on this. And if you want to keep exploring the forbidden, hidden files of our true history, click on the video appearing on your screen right now. Until next time, keep your eyes open, stay questioning, and stay vigilant in the ancestral shadows.